Hello and welcome to Awesome Bundesliga Match Day 4. We have Bayern Munich winning everything. This is not a surprise. It's a surprise seeing Leverkusen winning. Ronan, life is greener, better without Ten Hag.
Yeah, who would have thought the manager or head coach that didn't get on with anyone, who had a bad relationship with everybody on the pitch, off the pitch? Who would have thought that life without him was going to be an improvement? But yeah, onwards and upwards for Leverkusen. Hopefully they can put together some good results and maybe challenge Bayern Munich for the title, because so far it does not look like anybody will challenge Bayern Munich. They are scoring so many goals, winning every game. The only team that's unbeaten now. We had a couple more last week, but their unbeaten streak or win their 100% records are gone, I should say. And yeah, so Bayern Munich, this is your title to lose, and they will not lose it.
Run away from toxic relationships. Ronan, this is a must in life that my parents used to say. So Bayer Leverkusen was correct. Indeed, well, a lot to talk about, a lot of German teams competing. Well, actually, 4 competing in the Champions League this week. So now we are ready to analyze this new match day. Guys, stay with us. Comment the video, press the like, subscribe. And now let's go on with the show. And if we check the table, it's very early in the season and we shouldn't, but it calls my eyes seeing Pauli. There is one of the surprises of the season so far with only 3 games, of course, and they are starting in Stuttgart on Friday. 7 points for Pauli. Great start. Remember, they won the derby 10 days ago. But also last week they beat Augsburg, so 7 points, and Stuttgart is kind of the opposite. They lost to Freiburg 3-1, and Freiburg came to that game with a lot of problems, so their only win was at home against Gladbach, 1-0. Some seasons ago, last season we saw Stuttgart even in the Champions League, Ronan, so they are getting worse and worse.
Yeah, they are. They were winning 1-0 with 10 minutes to go in that match, and it looked like our ACCA might come through, but somehow they fell apart. And after the game, I think some of the players, when they spoke about it, they were utterly disappointed. The defenders kind of thought that they didn't do enough, and the attackers thought that they didn't do enough. So Sepp Hoeneß, the head coach, he came out and he said he was unhappy with how little his side created. He didn't think the defence was the problem, more so that the chances they were getting weren't proper chances. They were just kind of half chances, and that's something they need to improve on this in the coming weeks. And against St. Pauli, a team that last season kind of struggled in the Bundesliga, or more in the bottom half at least, and struggled at times in the Bundesliga, especially away from home. And yeah, the Stuttgart kind of need to change something up front, and I know they lost their kind of star man to Newcastle during the transfer window, but they have other players who are capable of scoring. And 𝗀𝗏𝗏, he's only played 70 minutes for Stuttgart so far in the Bundesliga. Maybe he is someone they might turn to create chances and be kind of provide some excitement in their attack. He started in the Cup, of course, and he started in the Super Cup. In the minutes he has been playing on the pitch for Stuttgart, he has done a bit. He's taken 3 shots in the 70 minutes he's played in the Bundesliga this season so far, including a ridiculous attempt, a 0.02 xG shot from outside the box that he even got on target and forced the goalkeeper into a good save. So maybe he'll come into the lineup, and if he does, he could be worth a look at over a half a shot on target option at 180. Maybe that will be a player to look at. This match, I don't think it's going to be a hugely high scoring match. It was 1-0 away to St. Pauli last season and 1-0 away to Stuttgart last season. So both games last season were just 1-0. Stuttgart have been struggling to score, like we've said. So this could be a total goals under 1. There's actually a few of those this week, which we don't usually have in the Bundesliga. We usually have kind of lots of goals in the Bundesliga. It is the highest scoring league in the top 5 leagues, but I think this could be a total goals under 2.75 match. But I really like the value to be found in St. Pauli getting some shots. 𝗀𝗏𝗏 isn't a guaranteed starter, but 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀 for St. Pauli, who was on loan from Burnley, he scored 3 goals in 3 games. He has 4 goals in his last 5 games for club and country. He scored for Benin against Lesotho in the international break. He's scored against Dortmund, Hamburg and Augsburg, so he scored in every game for St. Pauli so far in the Bundesliga. He's getting a lot of shots off. He's averaging 2.97 shots on target. On target, not even just shots in general, because nearly 4 shots, I think it's 3.96 per 90 is what he's averaging of shots. So he's getting his shots off, he's getting his shots on target. So I like the look of him to have over half a shot on target at 167. That's Andreas Ondoji, the St. Pauli striker, and he had 2 shots on target in 20 seconds in the last game against Augsburg because he missed a penalty and then he scored a rebound. So yeah, I like the look of him getting over 1.5 shots on target as well, which is 4.33.
Well, last weekend, only one game was under 2.5 goals. Indeed, and that game was the one played by Mainz. And the next game also, Ronan, in my opinion, could be an under. Is Augsburg, Mainz, 3 points for Augsburg, lost to St. Pauli and Bayern, and only 1 win in match day 1. And Mainz, all 3 games under 2.5 goals, which is an oddity in the Bundesliga, only 1 goal scored. So that's why perhaps also here you go for an under?
Yeah, Augsburg or Mainz, it's kind of a hard one to predict because Mainz haven't been scoring a lot of goals. Augsburg, on the other hand, they're averaging 4 total goals per game, 6 for and 6 against in their matches. So maybe they can give us something here. Their lowest scoring game was that match against St. Pauli last week. They lost 2-1, like you said. Mainz lost 1-0 to RB Leipzig, like you said. But yeah, they did not look scoring. They had more possession of the ball. I think it was something like 53-47, but they only got 2 shots on target in the whole game. So they are kind of struggling to find the net. They've scored just once. They've conceded only 3 goals in 3 games in the Bundesliga this season. So they're not playing out entertaining games. So maybe they won't score again a lot in this one. Mainz total goals under 1.5 is 160. That's worth looking at because even if they score once, it's not too bad for you. You still make a bit of money. They're yet to win in the Bundesliga this season. They picked up only 1 point. Traveling to Augsburg, as we know from matches in the past, can be pretty tricky. So Augsburg Asian handicap 0 could be another option here for 194. But I don't see a lot of value in this one because I don't think it's going to be a cracker.
Well, 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is going for a draw in this Augsburg Mainz, and then we have a relegation 6-pointer. Yes, we are in September, but probably these teams are going to fight until the end. The tough start for Hamburg, only 1 point, lost the derby, and then 5-0 to Bayern Munich. So they haven't scored a single goal yet. And Heidenheim, they keep their poor run coming from, January, December? Last season, lost to Dortmund, Leipzig, and Wolfsburg. So 0 points. I think few teams in Europe have still to get a point. 0 points for them.
Yeah, Hamburg are yet to score in the Bundesliga this season. So there's only 3 teams in Europe that have not scored in the top 5 leagues in Europe that haven't scored. Aston Villa are one, Hamburg are another, and we'll come to the other one later in the show. Borussia M'Gladbach. So yeah, those are the teams who haven't scored yet in Europe this season. So yeah, Hamburg, they're getting worse. It was 0-0 against Gladbach. They lost 2-0 to St. Pauli and then 5-0 against Bayern last weekend. But as we said on the show, against Bayern, it was going to be one of those games. It wouldn't have been a surprise if it was 8-0 and the scoreline. We said any value to be found in that match was kind of in Bayern to win by lots of goals or specific goal scorers and things like that. So you kind of knew Hamburg were getting nothing from the match last week. And this is a match that they have to look at as a possibility to get some points because Heidenheim, like you said, this could be a relegation 6-pointer because the other team that were kind of involved in the relegation battle, or we predicted to be Werder Bremen, they got a massive win last week. So, yeah, they're kind of moved away. These 2 teams have combined so far for 1 goal in the Bundesliga in 2025-26, 17 versus 18. It is not going to be a thriller. Heidenheim, huge odds on them at 370, but I wouldn't be kind of looking on any outcome on this one because you wouldn't be surprised if Heidenheim did win. You wouldn't be surprised if Hamburg did win. You definitely would not be surprised if it was a draw here. The draw looks a good option at 383, but perhaps a bit safer is just to expect nothing in this match. Another total goals under match I'm going to go for here. Total goals under 2.75 is 182.
And well, with 0 points, I was checking, same as Heidenheim, Wolverhampton is the only one in the top 5 leagues, actually. So Hamburg to win for 𝗵𝐻 could be the first win for Hamburg, also for Philippe or 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 going for both teams to score. Difficult with these teams. Again, right now, the 2 worst teams in Germany. The third is Gladbach, but later on we will talk about them, because before we have to talk about the best team, Bayern Munich, playing against Hoffenheim. Really, really strong Bayern Munich. I think it's really good to back them now with Asian handicap in every single game. Let's see what they do in the Champions League, but in the Bundesliga, now that they don't have plenty of injuries, it looks like they want to win the league in November. Is 14 goals scored in 3 games. Is just brilliant. And Hoffenheim also showing better numbers than last season. Ronan, 6 points is good for 3 match days. Remember last season struggling until the end.
Yeah, they were struggling to score last season, and this time, at least last weekend, they scored a lot of goals. I know they got 2 penalties and 2 different goal scorers, because Ďeňović had gone off the pitch by the time they got the second penalty. And Felix Aslani, who we mentioned on the show, I think before the first week, said that he could be an option up front to be scoring goals, and he scored twice last week, so he returning well so far. Harry Kane is obviously scoring loads and loads of goals for Bayern Munich. He has 8 goal involvements already in the Bundesliga after 3 games. That's the best start for a Bundesliga player since started counting goals and assists together from 2004-2005. So yeah, he has 5 goals and 3 assists. And you can say the same about the entire Bayern Munich front line. They all have kind of these fantastic stats of goals and assists, because Bayern Munich are just scoring so many goals. So Harry Kane is an anytime goal scorer, is 157. That's always worth a look in the Bundesliga, just like it's always worth a look in the Champions League too. You have to look at some other players. Maybe there's a bit more value. Luis Diaz, he scored in his first 3 Bundesliga games for Bayern Munich. He's only the 4th player in their history to do that. Rogerio Rizzatelli, if you remember him, you probably don't. He's from 20 or 30 years ago. He was the first. Luca Toni and Mario Mandzukic are probably better known names that have done it more recently. Yeah, Rizzatelli was one of these players. He had a short time in the Bundesliga with Bayern, and then Carsten Janker emerged as the next big thing up front for Bayern Munich. So yeah, when Carsten Janker, when he emerges as the replacement for you mustn't be that much of a sharpshooter. But he was able to score in his first 3 games. So Luis Diaz to do it again, or at least get an assist, that isn't too bad.
Janker is the kind of guy you don't want to cross in an elevator, right?
No, a tall, imposing figure. Yeah, big bald guy. Yeah. I wouldn't fancy it, but he's meant to be a really nice guy. But I haven't actually met him. So yeah, Luis Diaz to score or assist has come up on the screen. That's what I was going to say next before we started talking about Carsten Janker. Yeah, so 183, and that's a good option. And a bit better value, we look at all the different forwards that Bayern Munich have. Michael Olise, he's got 3 goals, 1 assist so far. He is 187. So a bit better than Luis Diaz to score or assist. But you can put all of them in, because, as you said, Bayern Munich are probably going to win most games in the Bundesliga. They don't have any new injuries, but they have Alphonso Davies, Jamal Musiala, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, all to come back. So when they come back in October, November, they'll be even better. So yeah, this Bayern Munich team could win the league by February.
Well, Luca Toni also, I think it was the worst Bayern Munich in the last 20-30 years, the one that Luca Toni played. Even Bayern Munich was in the Europa League. I remember playing against Getafe, one game that they were almost out of the competition, scoring just a late goal. Well, both teams to score and Bayern to win for 𝗵𝐻. Bayern wins and over 3.5 goals indeed. Luis Diaz over 1.5 shots go with Bayern Munich. Next one is Werder Bremen. Freiburg, if we talk about the high scoring games, well, Werder Bremen 4 points, and all the games really high scoring. 4-0 beat Gladbach, 3-3 with Leverkusen, 4-1 lost to Frankfurt, so they really enjoy goals. And for Freiburg was the first win of the season, 3-1 with Stuttgart. Also really high scoring games. Once upon a time, Freiburg was one of the few teams with low scoring numbers, but it's not the case this season.
Yeah, they've moved on from that Christian Streich era, if such a thing was ever going to be possible. But yeah, this season they seem to be scoring more goals, and both teams' seasons look much better after the results they got last week. A great late win from Freiburg shows the kind of mentality that they have by beating Stuttgart after coming from behind. And Bremen, they were phenomenal against Gladbach. We haven't kind of seen that Bremen in a while, so it's good to see that back. And for Freiburg, 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 came off the bench. He's a new signing there at Freiburg. He came off the bench to score twice. He's only the second Freiburg player in Bundesliga history to do that on his debut, to score twice off the bench. And the last one was Niels Petersen. And remembering back to those Freiburg teams that were hard to beat, he was the difference for them in a lot of matches when they were winning 1-0 or they were winning 2-1 and stuff like that. And he was a huge difference. So if Matanovic can kind of follow that lead, it will be a very shrewd signing for them, because he's a young player with a big potential in the future. The most common result in this one, no surprise, is 1-0. It was 1-0 away to Freiburg last season. It's been both teams to score no in 3 of the past 5 meetings, and going back even further, 7 of the past 10. So although this season they seem to be scoring a bit more goals, they haven't been showing that consistency. So I think this match could be another one of those, both teams to score no at 250.
Well, both teams to score the opposite for 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 and over 2.5 goals. Also, 𝗀𝗃𝗃 is going for both teams to score. Werder Bremen to win or draw, no bet in this one. And the last game on Saturday is Leipzig-Cologne. Leipzig, after the harsh defeat with Bayern, 2 clean sheets and 2 wins over Mainz and Heidenheim. And Cologne, remember, newly promoted team and doing great things. 7 points, great start. It was a crazy game, the one against Wolfsburg. We saw Juventus Dortmund being absolutely madness. But Ronan, also this one with Wolfsburg, we saw 3 goals over the 90th minute, and the last one came in the 104th.
Yeah, it was just one of those matches. It's kind of what we've seen a bit more now in Germany, especially after the World Cup in 2022 kind of added all these ridiculous kind of +10 stoppage times. And the Bundesliga has kind of taken that and run with it more so than maybe some of the other leagues. So you saw it especially kind of 2 years ago when Bayer Leverkusen won the league. You kind of saw them winning in the 97th minute and the 98th minute in many matches. So the Bundesliga just seems to enjoy having longer games, and that's not a complaint if they're going to be like that one. So long may that continue, and long may Cologne continue to entertain the masses, because the Bundesliga is so much better with them in it, because they are a traditional huge kind of German club. So it's great to have them back. And I suppose some people say the opposite about RB Leipzig, that they are only in the league because of the money, and they don't have the same love, but they don't have the same ability as they've had in the past few years. And they kind of suffered a couple of blows in that match they played last week. Antonio Nusa and Xaver Schläger were both injured during the 1-0 win over Mainz, so they'll be out for a while. It's kind of more bad news for RB Leipzig after they lost so many players during the transfer window, and they're kind of trying to adjust to this new team and not playing in Europe this season. So the only thing probably for Leipzig to look at going into this match is Cologne haven't won in Leipzig since 2018. RB Leipzig, the last time that Cologne were in the Bundesliga, they absolutely smashed them, 5-1 away and 6-0 at home. But I don't think the same is going to happen now, because this is not the same RB Leipzig as in the past. Cologne are a pretty solid team. Leipzig's wins this season, they've 2 so far. They've been 2-0 over Heidenheim and 1-0 over Mainz, so they're not that convincing. Cologne are unbeaten in any sort of match since April, including friendlies, competitive matches, cup games, league games. They have not lost a game since April. So they've scored 4 against Freiburg, 3 against Wolfsburg. They can score against RB Leipzig. So I think Cologne could do something here. And if you look at the Asian handicap market, it could be a good option. Even if they were to lose, you could pick up some money. So Cologne Asian handicap plus 1.25 is 161.
Both teams to score for Philip. Leipzig wins and over 2.5 goals for 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 and Cologne to score over 1.5 goals for a higher value. Well, let's jump into the games we have on Sunday. Frankfurt Union Berlin is the first one. Remember, Frankfurt playing in the Champions League against Galatasaray. I don't know if they have the right squad to fight in 2 competitions. It's going to be harsh. 6 points so far. Even against Leverkusen, probably they deserved more. They had their chances. But, well, they lost. And Union Berlin seen also a lot of goals. Ronan, one of the other teams that usually was kind of an under, not in this Bundesliga.
No, not last week. We mentioned that Hoffenheim game. Obviously, they gave away 2 penalties, so that's never going to be a good way to keep your goal tally down. They had Tom Rota sent off late on, but it didn't really make too much difference to the outcome. But yeah, they cannot. Union Berlin are not a team that usually concede four goals. It's not what we expect, especially at home in Union Berlin. Maybe away on the road, but we don't, or against a team like Bayern, but we don't expect them to concede 4 at home to Hoffenheim. Union are 14th at the moment with 3 points. Frankfurt are 5th with 6 points. So there's not too much separating them, but obviously it's early in the season. But like you said, Frankfurt do have the Champions League on Thursday against Galatasaray. It's home against Galatasaray, so that is a positive. They don't have to travel for that one, and they don't have to travel for this one at the weekend either. So that should kind of help them get something from them. Their first loss of the season was last Friday to Leverkusen. It's not really surprised that they'll lose to Leverkusen, because this is a Leverkusen trying to rebound, and they would have lost to Leverkusen in recent seasons anyway. So I think some value can be looked at. Maybe 𝐿 can score again in this match. He is scoring. He reacted very quickly to score the goal against Leverkusen. It was a fine finish to get him back into the match. He has been on fire for them. He's an anytime goal scorer bet for him is 380, and he has scored 3 goals already this season, so why not a 4th? And this is a game that has shown us in the past it's not usually a thriller, maybe because Union Berlin are one of the 2 teams in it. None of the last 9 meetings between the sides have had more than 3 total goals. Frankfurt could be a bit tired, obviously, coming from the Thursday night game. So I think this could be another match with a low-scoring match. Under 3 total goals is 186. And as always, if you bet on an exact figure, make sure that the book you're betting with gives you your money back if it is exactly true.
Ritsu Doan shot on target. Philip is asking you.
Never a bad option. Ritsu Doan he started life very well for Frankfurt. He looked sharp in the cup and in the first match of the season. He's kind of quieting down a bit, but as we've seen from the past before he moved to Frankfurt, he is always capable of getting goals and assists, and he can be a danger. If you're going for over 0.5 shots on target, if the odds are good, yeah, it's always a good one to look at.
Next one, Leverkusen Gladbach. Gladbach, as you said, the other team with 0 goals scored, only 1 point, the one against Hamburg. And Leverkusen playing Champions League with a new manager were able to beat Frankfurt, suffering down to 10 men with Grimaldo scoring brilliantly free kicks. Leverkusen to win is 1.6 at home.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for. Spoilers, that's what I'm going for. Bayer Leverkusen to win at home. But this is a match where both teams in match day 4 have different managers than they started the season with. Seoane has been sacked by Borussia Mönchengladbach, but they haven't hired a full-time replacement for them. The youth coach is stepping up, and maybe if he performs well over the next few weeks, get the job. But yeah, there is a big kind of coaching market, and there's plenty of big names and big kind of former Bundesliga managers with kind of big reputations around there. So I'm sure Gladbach will take their time trying to find who's the next permanent manager. But yeah, they definitely needed a change, because we were even saying it last year. There was weeks you were asking me, were Borussia Mönchengladbach going to sack the manager, and they never did. And we were kind of talking, and you kind of wondered why this went into this season with him still in charge. It was more of the same continuing this season. It was so bad last week that they had no choice, I think. And it was a bit like Bayer Leverkusen the week before, that they had no choice. They needed to change things. And this kind of makes it a bit more intriguing. But Bayer Leverkusen, on paper and in reality, they have a much better team than Borussia Mönchengladbach, no matter which coach is in each dugout. And like you said, 𝗀𝗏𝗏 has been on fire. He scored twice, 2 free kicks last week. He now has 6 free kick goals for Leverkusen since 2023-24. So yeah, he is always a danger. Anytime you kind of give a free to Leverkusen outside the box, there's a chance that 𝗀𝗏𝗏 is going to get it on target or cause some danger with it. They have been excellent from set pieces under 𝗪𝗏. Maybe that will continue under the new man, because we kind of saw it when he was the Danish head coach, that was a way they caused plenty of damage to the opponents, was through set pieces and corners, where Leverkusen could turn to that a bit more, rather than maybe the fluidity that we had seen under 𝗪𝗏. And maybe that will stand to them in the long run, that they will be a harder team to beat, and maybe a more kind of structured team when they have the ball. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Leverkusen continue under this new manager, but so far so good. And yeah, the only bad thing was Palacios is he's out for the rest of the 25, and they had 2 red cards in that game against Frankfurt. So Andrich and Fernandez are both missed this game, but even without them, the Gladbach shouldn't be able to lay a glove on Frankfurt. They haven't scored in 2 of the last 4 meetings. Leverkusen had scored 3 goals in 3 of the last 4 meetings. So the correct score, 3-0, is 13 in this one. That is a massive one. I'm going to the tip, but I should have looked for Tom Rennie's 1-0, 2-0, or 3-0 options. Maybe that would have better way to go. He loves one of them. I should have had a look around for one of them. That could be either one. Leverkusen to win to 0 is an equivalent, I suppose. So that's 340. And Leverkusen win, like you said at the start, 163 or whatever it is, 162 at the moment. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me.
Well, it was correct, this prediction for Tottenham Liverpool. I think he did it. So that came in. 𝐋𝐞𝐿 for Philippe, 2-3 goals in this match. For Penchev, for instance, 2-0, 3-0 could be an option. And the last game is Dortmund Wolfsburg. Dortmund specialists in crazy games. They should have won in Torino, and at the end, a draw. They should have won against Pauli, and the same. They are dropping stupid points because they have or they had the games under control, and then they fail to win those games. This one is at home. We know that they usually win at home. 𝗵𝗵𝗏 didn't score despite having some chances in Torino, so could be a good option again for you. You love this bet, and it's coming in always. And the Wolfsburg are unbeaten so far, by the way, 5 points.
Yeah, and I did not use that bet in the Champions League, and I proved right. So everything came up Millhouse, as they say. But yeah, the Wolfsburg, it's going to be a tricky one for them travelling to Dortmund, because Dortmund are usually a much better side at home. It's the power of the yellow wall has long been discussed, and we saw it last season, especially. Dortmund were fantastic at home for the first half of the season. They went a long time without losing. But this is a match where maybe Maxi Arnold won't have the same success as he had last week, because he scored again from outside the box. He now has the Bundesliga record for most goals scored from outside the box, 22 goals, beating someone who is loved in Dortmund, Marco Reus, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 as well, the former Wolfsburg midfielder. So yeah, if he gets the ball outside the box, Gregor Kobel and the Dortmund defence better, kind of closing down a bit quickly, or be expecting that he's going to shoot. Dortmund have won back-to-back games to 0 in the Bundesliga. I know they conceded 4 against Juventus in the Champions League, but that's the Champions League. It's a different sort of ball game from playing in the Bundesliga, and it was a very tense first half against Juventus, and they defended resolutely in the first half. Juventus had plenty of chances, but they only had 1 shot on target, I think, in the first half. So Dortmund have been defending better generally under Niko Kovac, and I think they can do it again here. 5 of the last 7 meetings between these two sides were both teams to score 0. So a Dortmund clean sheet, 275. Dortmund to win to 0 is 3. So another Tom Rennie special. I mean, this one could be another good option here. But like you said, Serhou Guirassy, he has now scored in 8 Bundesliga matches in a row. Only Lewandowski and Aubameyang have more at 12 and 10 respectively. So he can go for 9 in this match. I will be going, as always, for Serhou Guirassy, anytime goal scorer, 161. You can tie it in with Harry Kane, anytime goal scorer for an ACCA, like every other week, if you like.
The bookies are putting down the odds, of course, on 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐵 to score. They are not stupid. Wolfsburg can be tricky, both teams to score. Dortmund to score over 1.5 goals. 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 over 3.5 goals is a good one. Going for the over. It's true that Wolfsburg are unbeaten, but it's also true that they were playing against Heidenheim, Cologne, and Mainz. So the opposition was not great so far. Well, Bundesliga match day 4 analyzed. Now it's time to place your bets or to post your tips also in Oddspedia if you want. As always, I want to remind you that you can participate in our tipster competitions, and we have great prizes for you. Win up to $1,000. You can see there the leaderboard and also rivals, the unique tool that we've created for you, where you can create your own tipster competition or join a created one, by the way. Ronan, safe bet?
My safe bet is the standard, the trademark Bundesliga bet. Bayern Munich to win at 138.
Very, very safe. And the ACCA?
My ACCA also has Bayern Munich to win, Bayer Leverkusen to win, and Andreas 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐵𝐻 to have over half a shot on target for a total of 376. So yeah, we've already been successful in the Champions League this week in the ACCAs.
Yes.
Hopefully the same in the Bundesliga.
It's true. Good not to include 𝗵𝗵𝗏𝗀, but both ACCAs were correct, if I'm not mistaken, Tom's and yours. So it was a great start of the week. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ronan.
Bye-bye.